As we're so early in our journey together here in Pokémon Fire Red, I thought it would be apt to run some early game normal types. And now that we're playing a Generation 3 game with all the Hoennian Pokémon at our disposal, I thought it would be fun to take Zigzagoon and Linoone around the Kanto region. Mostly known for their pickup ability and their relatively high speed, how well will Zigzagoon and Linoone do in somewhere that isn't their home region? And just before we get into the challenge run, I once again want to say thank you to each and every one of you for the support you've shown me after my big break away. It's been really lovely reading through all of your very kind words and messages, and I have a lot of great plans lined up for the next few months. Now, if you aren't subscribed, please do consider subscribing, it will really help me out, and if you enjoy this video, please do leave it a like as well. I used the Universal Pokémon Randomizer to replace Squirtle with Zigzagoon. That ensures that we go up against the rivals Venusaur, which has a lot of status conditions. And now let's take a little look at our stats. We are level 5 with a lonely nature, we have 20 HP, we have 9 in attack, 9 in defense and 9 in special attack, 10 in special defense and 12 in speed. Our ability is Pick Up and our moves are Tackle, Growl and Tail Whip. This is the Zigzagoon we are running with, so let's have a little look at how it fares against our first rival battle. The rival, of course, will have Bulbasaur, and Bulbasaur is quite bulky. So this battle took quite a while. We were tackling it for what felt like forever, but we did eventually knock it out, and with that we can progress onwards and upwards towards Viridian City. And as is tradition on this channel, I will show you the very first wild encounter we come across. It's a level 2 Pidgey and it's just 2 tackles to knock it out. And with that we can go into the Pokemart and pick up the parcel for Professor Oak. That parcel contains some Pokedexes, and I do one of those to make sure I'm catching 10 Pokemon so I can get Flash a little bit later on, because I still don't know my way around Rock Tunnel. So once we've obtained the Pokedex and 5 Pokeballs, we can start travelling around the Kanto region, and the first place we're going to go is west of Pewter City, where we catch up with a very old friend of ours. This is Kenya the Spearow, dropped in levels in our little break together, but Kenya is joining the party. Kenya is going to be helping us out with Fly a little bit later on in this run, and they are very happy to be back in the team. And with Kenya tucked safely away in our bag, we can move northwards through the Viridian Forest, learning Headbutt en route, and straight into Pewter City where Brock's gym is waiting. We've got just the one trainer to face up against at the very beginning of this gym, and this is where normal types really show their weakness in Generation 3. We are not able to beat that Geodude, that was just a foregone conclusion from the beginning. So we go back into Viridian Forest and we grind to level 13, because at level 13 we learn Sand Attack, and I think that's going to be our best way to get through this gym. If we can lower the accuracy of all those rock types, we might just stand a chance of knocking them out. We have 45 PP at our disposal, and that should be more than enough to take care of Lightyear's trainer at the very least, but this is still going to be a war of attrition. In Generations 1, 3 and 4, the normal type at the very beginning of the game really is one of the weakest types. Being not very effective against rock really does hold it back, and that means that normal types in these runs are going to be much slower. But after a lot of effort we do eventually knock out the Geodude and we are onto the Sandshrew. Sandshrew proves to be quite bulky as well and takes us down into the yellow HP. We get Sand Attacks but our Headbutt hits, and we have finally defeated the first gym trainer. I decide to take on Brock at this level just in case we get a miracle, but I think we all know what's coming here. I start off with 6 Sand Attacks against the Geodude to try and reduce its accuracy, but Sand Attack really is not a reliable way of getting through any battle. Even with 6 accuracy drops, the enemy Pokemon can still and will still often hit you, especially when you need a microscope to look at that HP bar to see just how little HP you're taking off each turn. And while we're still struggling to get the Geodude down into yellow HP, it's managed to hit through enough times to take us down to 13 HP. We run out of headbutts, we get hit a couple more times by Tackle, and it is all over. We're going to have to go and grind. The Johto runs really have spoilt us with normal types. We are very used to them being the quickest type of Pokemon in the entire run. However, here in Kanto, in a very similar vein to Hoenn and Sinnoh runs, the normal type is at this inherent disadvantage from the very beginning. All 3 of those regions have a relatively strong rock type leader as the first gym, and that is one of the biggest obstacles in the entire challenge run. We decline learning Odor Sleuth at level 17, and my initial plan here was to get up to level 20 and evolve into a Linoone. However, something very fortuitous happened. we picked up TM10. Now TM10 is Hidden Power. Our Hidden Power type in this run is Dark because we've got perfect IVs, so it's not the best move in the world, but at least it's something that's not resisted by Brock's Pokemon, so we are in with a chance of getting through Brock a little bit earlier than I anticipated. So we'll replace Tackle with Hidden Power, and then we will give Brock another go. Our special attack is only 30, and we don't get Stab, however it could be our best bet to get out of here without doing a hell of a lot more grinding. So we start off using Hidden Power on the Geodude, and it's a 2-shot, which makes a very big change from the 222 shot from before, and we are on to the Onix. It's a 3-shot on the Onix. Onix misses its attack, and that was an easy battle in the end. I am so glad our Zigzagoon picked up Hidden Power. They must have known that we were really struggling to get through and wanted to do their bit to help out. But now with the Boulder Badge in hand, we can start going east towards Mount Moon. Before we enter Mount Moon though, we are going to take out as many trainers as we can on Route 3. One of the things that I have learnt very quickly in our Kanto runs is you want to get as much experience as possible before crossing that one-way barrier at Route 4. So we took on Bugcatcher Greg here, we grew to level 20, and we get our first and only evolution of the run. Zigzagoon evolves into Linoone at level 20, and with that we get a nice buff to our base stats. And we should be able to hit things a little bit harder now with our 70 base attack as opposed to our 30 base attack. Now in Mount Moon we find our second HM friend. It is Paris. Paris is going to be helping us out with Cut, Flash and Dig, and Paris is very glad to be back on the team once more. And with nothing of great significance happening in the rest of Mount Moon, we can make our way out onto Route 4, over the one-way barrier and into Cerulean City. And at the very north of Cerulean City we get our second rival battle. The rival is leading with Pidgeotto and this time doesn't sand attack us. And goodness me, not being sand attacked makes this battle an awful lot easier. We take care of his Rattata very quickly and the same happens to the Abra. And it's 2 shots on the Bulbasaur as he misses Poison Powder. And that was one of the smoothest rival 2s I will have in a very long time. We get the Fame Checker from him, I'm not quite sure what that does, and then we travel up to Route 24 where we pick up our third and new HM friend. It's a welcome return to Abra. Abra was absent from the Walrein run, but thank you to everybody who suggested I picked one up there. Having an Abra makes getting Flash a little bit more viable longer term, so thank you to everybody once again who let me know that Abra was available around here. If you've got any other suggestions for ways I could speed up my routing, please do let me know down in the comments below. I read and try and respond to every single comment, and each bit of feedback really does help me improve my runs. I'm not sure if all of you remember the very beginning Johto runs, but they were quite terrible comparatively speaking, and together we have routed that game really within an inch of its life, and I would say we're very well optimised, and we'll do the same for Fire Red over the coming weeks. But for now we have to take on Misty. Misty as our second gym leader, and she is a water type trainer. However, her Starmie is part Psychic type, and I was anticipating a very clean run here. However, we got some of the worst luck I have had in a very long time. We got confused off the Water Pulse and hit ourselves 3 times in a row and got knocked out. However, on our second attempt it went much smoother. We didn't get confused, we hit her twice with Hidden Power Dark, and we knocked her out. And the reward for beating Misty is 1 Cascade Badge and 1 Water Pulse TM, and we are going to be learning Water Pulse straight away. We are going to get rid of Sand Attack and we're going to replace it with Water Pulse. Sand Attack really did not prove to be as useful as I hoped it would, so I don't see that as any great loss. And now we travel south into Vermilion City where we're going to have a little chat with the chairman of the Pokémon fan club. Once again, he doesn't have any rare candies for us, so he's going to give us something much more valuable instead. He's going to give us a bicycle voucher, but before we go and get the bike, we're going to go onto the SSN. And on the SSN we have our third rival battle in very quick succession. Once again he leads with Pidgeotto, and once again he doesn't sand attack us, and that makes this rival battle an awful lot easier than it otherwise would have been. I've noticed there's a lot of RNG luck with these rival battles. If you get sand attacked, then it could be very tricky. If you don't get sand attacked, just like here, it's an absolute breeze. And with the rival all defeated, we can have a little chat to the captain of the SSN. He's feeling a little bit seasick, and as a reward for rubbing his back, he gives us Cut. We'll teach Cut to Paris straight away. We do have the option of teaching it to Linoone, but it isn't 100% accurate, and as we all know, those lower than 100% accuracy moves really do bite us in the bum an awful lot. but with the SS Anne sailing away forever and a day, we can make our way towards Lieutenant Surge's gym. Surge is going to be the third gym leader we take on, and of course in Surge's gym we have to do things slightly differently to the rest of the gyms. This gym puzzle is all RNG based, so what we're going to do is take on all of the gym trainers first, and then we will pause the timer to do the gym puzzle. Our third gym trainer here is Gentleman Tucker. He's got a single Pikachu, and that is a very good litmus test for the start of Surge's battle. And for probably the first and only time in any of our challenge runs together, we got the gym puzzle in a very quick time. That would have been fortuitous if the timer wasn't paused, but to make it fair we do keep the timer paused each time we do this gym. I attach a cherry berry to our Linoone to prevent paralysis, and then we get on with taking on his Pokemon. His Voltorb is no issue at all. We knock out its Pikachu with one hit, but we do get statics. The cherry berry comes into play. We headbutt the Raichu and don't quite knock it out, so he Thunder Waves us and then Super Potions, but we are able to headbutt it on the very next turn to knock it out and get our third of our 8 gym badges. And with Surge's badge in hand, we make a quick trip to Route 2 to pick up Flash, we go to Cerulean City to pick up the bicycle, and then we head east across Route 9. And at the very end of Route 9 is the dreaded rock tunnel. I think for the foreseeable future in these runs, I'm going to be using Flash in here. As I've mentioned in previous videos, my sense of direction is terrible. Navigating this benighted place with Flash is tricky enough for me, so trying to do it in complete darkness would definitely lose more time than just going to grab Flash at the end of Route 2. We make it through without any issue at all though, and we can head towards Celadon City. This time I remember to pick up Fly early, and that's going to make our travelling even quicker on our way back towards Lavender Town. And it struck me in this run just how early you get Fly. Comparatively speaking to the Hoenn games, where you have to wait right until badge number 6 to use Fly, you get it straight after Lieutenant Surge, and arguably Hoenn would benefit from early Fly a lot more than the Kanto games. Let me know, do you think they should have given Fly earlier in Hoenn? That's something that is putting me off because there's an awful lot of backtracking in Hoenn games, but we'll pick up the T and then we'll take on the Rockets in the Game Corner Underground. I purposely didn't pick up the coin case to waste time doing the slots. I will go straight to the Rocket Grunt who is holding the lift key. And in this part of the game, we are very over-leveled. I've noticed that Kanto has a very weird level curve. We're under-leveled at the beginning, we're very under-leveled towards the end of the game, but there's this big chunk in the middle where we are just massively over-leveled, so even somebody like Giovanni is not an issue for us whatsoever. We one-shot his Onix, his Rhydon is also 4 times weak to water, so that goes down in one shot. We water pulse the Kangaskhan, which was a bit of a misplay, but we headbutt it, get a critical hit, and we get through Giovanni in a very quick time. He drops the Sylph Scope on his way out, and then we can make our way back towards Lavender Town. The first thing we're going to do in Lavender Town is pick up the return TM. I still feel so sorry for this girl in the gates here. She's lost her Pokemon, who is clearly so attached to her. She gives us a return TM and we will make use of it. We will do you proud, little girl. But with that all done and dusted, we'll go into the Pokemon Tower, where Rival 4 is waiting for us. Now the rival does lose his Raticate for this battle, and with Raticate being one of my all-time favourite Pokemon, I prefer to think that he's just giving Raticate a rest for the rest of these battles. I really don't like the theory that his Raticate passed away on the SS Anne, but let me know, do you think the Raticate passed away, or do you think it's something a lot less sinister? This battle though was incredibly easy. We get through his first 3 Pokemon in one shot, Kadabra is much the same, and then it is just a 2-shot on his Ivysaur. A pair of headbutts and a flinch later, and he is out of here. That's the rival defeated for the 4th time, and we can make our way further up the tower. At the tippy top of the tower, we meet this very poor Marowak. She has unfortunately passed away, and we need to give her a little bit of help transitioning into the afterlife. So we do that with Water Pulse, and then we move on up. We take care of all the Rocket Grunts here in the Lavender Tower, and at the very peak of the tower we meet Mr. Fuji. He thanks us for rescuing him and gives us the Pokeflute as a reward, and the Pokeflute unlocks the rest of Kanto for us, because we can now go west back towards Celadon City and take care of that very sleepy Snorlax. Snorlax is much how I was over the last 3 months, getting an awful lot of sleep, but winter is over now, it's springtime, and as we know, people and Pokemon need to come out of hibernation in spring, so we headbutt it a couple of times to get it running back into the forest, and we can make our way into Fuchsia City. In Fuchsia City we have Koga waiting for us. Now on paper the quickest route around Kanto would be to do Koga as your 4th gym leader, But that does mean we have a very steep jump in levels. We're going up to the high 30s against Koga, and only being level 43, that proves to be a bit of an issue, especially against a Pokemon as bulky as Muck. Muck is just able to tank our hits, hit us with Toxic, and there's no point in continuing that battle. However, I remembered that we picked up a Pecha Berry, and the Pecha Berry of course cures poison, so we have 2 bites of the cherry in this instance, so if we get poisoned once it's not a big deal. And the beginning of our next try goes very, very well. We managed to take care of the Muck with a lucky critical hit, and we're on to the Coughing, but Coughing goes boom, and I'm getting flashbacks to our Dugong run all the way back in August last year. That self-destruct means we don't have enough HP to get through the wheezing, and we're back to square one. We get a critical hit on the Coughing this time. Muck flinches on the first turn and we take it down into healing range. He uses a Hyper Potion as we keep headbutting it. Headbutt's doing a lot of damage, we get another flinch as he heals up for the second time. We then miss a headbutt, but our headbutts keep flinching him. Somewhere in this mess of headbutting we get poisoned, but our berry heals it up, and we're able to take care of his Muck. We're back onto Coughing. Coughing uses Sludge instead of self-destruct, and we're onto his final wheezing. And with a bit of flinch luck and a bit of poison luck combined together, we're able to get through it and knock him out and get our Soul Badge in a time of 1 hour, 9 minutes and 49 seconds. For comparison's sake, we are 13 minutes slower than Walrein at the moment. So we better get our skates on and see if we can make up some time towards the end of the run. The next place we've got to go is the Safari Zone, where we'll pick up 2 of our HMs. We'll get surfed directly from the Safari Zone, and then we'll grab the gold teeth from the very corner of the Safari Zone as well. We'll give those back to the Warden, and he will give us the Strength HM. Now at this point of the game, we don't actually have a Strength user, but if we do need some rare candies, we can always come back here, and there's a very easily accessible one next to that boulder. But with Strength acquired, we can make our way back towards Saffron City. We're doing things in a slightly different order at the moment because I hadn't quite rooted in a proper reliable surfing Pokemon. At the moment we're relying on Lapras for surf, however that's not going to be very viable longer term. So we're going to be doing this rival battle a little bit out of order, and in hindsight that really was not the smartest move. We struggle a lot against this rival because his Pokemon are in the high 30s, we're a physical attacker for the most part, and he has 2 Pokemon with Intimidate, so our physical attack is very low, and only having 50 base special attack means our special moves, Hidden Power, Dark and Water Pulse, can't even one-shot a Pokemon weak to it, even with a 10 level advantage, so we really do need to go back to the drawing board for our routing for the mid-game. It's all part of the learning curve though, and as a lot of people know, all the runs that are on my channel for the most part are the first run I've done with a Pokemon. I don't do any practice runs, I don't do much preparation. A lot of the fun for me in these runs comes from figuring things out on the fly. There are some great challenge runners who are far cleverer than me who are able to optimise these routes. But for me, the fun is just going on gut instinct and winging it, and in this instance it didn't quite pay off. We really should have gone and got the fishing rod and got a surfing Pokemon that way. That would have saved so much time. One of the fun things about Fire Red though is it's a very fun game to do on stream, so we're going to do a lot of redos on stream together, so make sure you have notifications for when I go live, and every couple of months or so we'll have a big compilation video showing updated times with our reruns. And now that we are finally through the 5th rival battle, we can pick up our Lapras and get back onto our regular route. We're going to go over to Pallet Town and we're going to surf down towards my favourite place in all of the Kanto region. It's the very intact Cinnabar Island. Here on Cinnabar Island we've got to go into the mansion in order to pick up the key to get into Blaine's gym. Now with him being a fire type trainer and his front door being locked from the outside, I don't think that's very safety conscious at all. The next time I have access to a phone on one of these runs, I really must call the Cantonian Health and Safety Executive just to let them know that there's something incredibly dangerous going on here on Cinnabar Island. However, with the key in hand, we can go into the gym and hopefully not perish ourselves as we take on Blaine. He is our 5th gym leader together, he's a fire type specialist, and he leads with Growlithe. Growlithe doesn't go down in one shot from Water Pulse, and that is a big issue. It means we are going to be struggling against his stronger Pokemon. We have a relatively easy time against the Ponyta as we manage to confuse it with Water Pulse, and then he heals it up to give us a free turn to knock it out in 2, and then we're on to the Rapidash. We have a lot of great luck against the Rapidash as he uses a full heal and wastes another turn, and we are on to his Arcanine. And Arcanine is where this all went wrong. Fire Blast hit incredibly hard, and this is where I relented. The only way we're going to get through this battle at our current level is to teach Surf. I'm really loath to teach HMs to our challenge run Pokemon because they are incredibly difficult to remove. But in this instance it proved to be the undoing of Blaine. We take care of his first 2 Pokemon in one shot, the Rapidash's Fire Blast misses, and we're back onto the Arcanine. The increased base power of Surf means that we're able to take Arcanine down into the yellow as he hits us with a burning Fire Blast. He's not in healing range though, and we knock it out on the second turn to get the Volcano badge. Time of 1:23:27. We now have a little chat with Bill, who offers to take us to the Sevi Islands, however we politely decline, because if we get onto the Sevi Islands we are stuck there and we lose an awful lot of time, so we won't do that and instead we'll go back to Celadon City. In Celadon City, our 6th gym leader awaits us. This time it's Erica. She is a grass type specialist, and because she's done out of order, she is a very, very easy leader. This is just the palate cleanser we need after the incredibly difficult Koga and Blaine fights. We knock out all 3 of her Pokemon in one shot apiece, and we get the Rainbow badge. Time of 1 hour, 26 minutes and 44 seconds for Erica, and with that badge in hand we can make our way back towards Saffron City and finish off the rest of Silphco. I do feel a little bit bad for the Silphco employees. We half rescued them and then decided to leave and do our own business for a little while, but we are back to save the day, and at the very top of Silphco we meet Giovanni. And this is another one of those battles where having Surf on our learn sets was an incredible boon. Surf does not make contact against the Nidorino, and that means we don't get poison pointed, and we're on to the Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen got incredibly lucky though with Poison Sting and managed to poison us, so that did throw a slight spanner in the works as we go up against the Kangaskhan. We first of all try surfing it and that didn't work too well, so we move on to Headbutt as Poison chips away at us, but his final Pokemon is a Rhyhorn. Rhyhorn goes down in just one shot because it's 4 times weak to water. We defeat Giovanni, we've saved the day, and we can dig out of Silphco and make our way towards the gym. Inside this gym we have our penultimate gym leader waiting for us. It's Sabrina, the Psychic type specialist, but she also has a Venomoth for some reason. I'm not going to question her choices there. We one-shot her Kadabra with Hidden Power and out comes Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime uses Psybeam and we are having a repeat of the Misty fight, because once again we get confused on a move that isn't guaranteed to confuse us, and we constantly hit ourselves in confusion. However, that was just a little bit of bad luck, so we won't change strategy and we will try again. We go through the Kadabra with the greatest of ease once more. This time Mr. Mime uses Barrier to make sure we take care of it in 2 shots, and we're on to the Venomoth. Venomoth tried confusing us but missed, and we were able to knock that out in 2 shots, and we're on to Alakazam. Alakazam tries to set up using Calm Mind, but it's not enough of a buff to keep him on the field. We knock him out and we get the Marsh badge from Sabrina in a time of 1 hour 29 minutes and 33 seconds. And while we're on a roll, we'll head to our final gym. This is Giovanni's gym, and in here we learn a game-changing move. At level 53 we learn Belly Drum, and that means we don't have to worry so much about Intimidate, because a combination of Rest, our incredibly quick speed stats, and Belly Drum means we can be at full attack and still be able to recover our HP if needed. But in order to learn Belly Drum, of course, we do need to grow to level 53, which this Rhyhorn very graciously gives us the experience for, and we will get rid of Hidden Power. Hidden Power saved our bacon very often in this run, but I think it's now time to pivot towards being more of a physical attacking Linoone. And Giovanni is a very, very good gym leader to give our special attacking moves one final send-off. We're able to one-shot his Rhyhorn, out comes the Nidoqueen and she doesn't poison us this time. Out comes his Nidoking and Earthquake does hit us for a lot of damage, but he gets caught in a healing loop with Nidoking, and that means we're able to knock it out with just 2 further Surfs, and we are on to his Dugtrio. Dugtrio goes down in one shot because it's incredibly frail, and his final Pokemon is Rhyhorn. Rhyhorn is the definition of going out with a whimper instead of a bang, because we knock it out in a single Surf and we have all 8 badges. Time of 1 hour 32 minutes and 8 seconds for all 8 badges. It's just the Elite Four left to go. However, before taking on the Elite Four, we have a little bit of housekeeping to do. The first thing we're going to do is buy 4,500 coins from the Game Corner, and we are going to pick up TM30. TM30 of course contains Shadow Ball, and in this generation Shadow Ball is a physical move. And while we're out on our travels, we also pick up some Cherry and Lumberries. They're going to help us with our Belly Drum Rest strategy in the league. And with all that done and dusted, we can take on our final rival battle back near where it all began. He leads with Pidgeot, we use Headbutt and it flinches, we take it out in 2 shots and we are on to the Rhyhorn. Rhyhorn really is no issue for us, still having Surf on our learn set, and we are on to the Gyarados. Gyarados intimidates us, and this is where it goes a little bit wrong. Intimidate has lowered our physical attack, but Surf is not very effective against the Gyarados. We do eventually headbutt it into submission, but not before taking a fair chunk of damage from Hydro Pump. His Rain Dance does help us against the Growlithe though, and we knock that out in one shot, and his next Pokemon is Alakazam. We don't have anything super effective against the Alakazam, but 2 headbutts knocks it out, and his final Pokemon is Venusaur. And look how little damage we're doing. That battle became unwinnable against the Venusaur, and I decided to use the Shadow Ball strategy one battle earlier than intended. So we go over to Fuchsia City, we delete Surf from our learn set, and in its place we are going to teach Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball's going to help us out a lot against Agatha, as well as a lot of those pesky Psychic type Pokemon, so it's very much worth having on the learn set. And at the same time we replace Headbutt with Return. Return is going to be base 102 power at this point, and that combined with Stab alone is enough to give us 153 base power with Return. And with those moves on our learn set we take on the rival once more. I was very conscious about the number of berries we had in our bag, and so I was a little bit loath to use Belly Drum and Rest on our first attempt here against the rival. However, that turned out to be a bit of a misplay. I ended up having to use Rest against the Gyarados regardless, but we didn't have a chance to use Belly Drum against this Gyarados because one hit from a rain boosted Hydro Pump would have been enough to knock us out. So we have to use the old return strategy, and we eventually 3-shot it, and we're on to the Growlithe. We get another attack drop off the Growlithe, but we're still able to take care of it in 2 shots, and with that we are on to the Alakazam. I decline to use Rest again and go straight for Shadow Ball. We drop its special defense, but Psychic knocks us out. On the 3rd attempt though, my brain finally kicked into gear and I used Belly Drum from the very beginning. We used Rest and then took a few wing attacks from the Pidgeot. We weren't in any danger of fainting though, and once we were awake it was time to get the broom out and start sweeping. We one-shot the Pidgeots, we one-shot the Rhydon, and we're on to the Gyarados. We're at +5 attack because the Gyarados intimidates us, but that was enough to one-shot that. We're at +4 for the Growlithe, but we still one-shot the Growlithe. We have a super effective move against the Alakazam, that goes down in 1 hit, and we are on to the Venusaur. Venusaur is incredibly bulky, but not bulky enough to withstand our return. We defeat the rival, and we are finally on our way to the Pokemon League once and for all. We make our way through the strength puzzles of Victory Road, and out on the other side we pick up our final berry. This is another Lumberry, and that's going to help us with our Belly Drum Rest strategies, and with that we are into the Indigo Plateau. We do one final heal for the run at the Pokemon Center, and then we go to the Pokemarts to try and buy our full restores. However, we don't have enough money for them. We spent so much money on Shadow Ball that we actually have to resort to selling items for the first time in over 40 challenge runs. So we start selling a bunch of TMs until we have enough money to buy 3 full restores. And that, combined with the one we picked up in Cinnabar Mansion, is enough for us to take on the league. So we'll say thank you to our HM friends. It's a very big thank you to Kenya, to Abra, to Paris and to Lapras. You've all been a great help in the Kanto region. It's time to get some well-deserved rest as Linoone takes on the Pokemon League. And the first trainer we go up against is Lorelei. Lorelei is an Ice-type trainer and she leads with Dugong. And now it's time to put the Belly Drum strategy into play. We Belly Drum against the Dugong as it uses Hail, and then we return on it to knock it out in 1 shot. Here comes Cloyster. Cloyster does have a lot of physical defense, but not enough to withstand a return, and we're on to the Slowbro. Slowbro's another bulky Pokemon, but it cannot withstand our return, and Lapras is our 3rd bulky Pokemon in a row. Return is no match for the Lapras though, and we knock it out in 1 shot. Jinx couldn't even make it all the way through her blah 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 cry before she gets knocked out, and with that we have defeated Lorelei. We equip another Chesto Berry onto our Linoone, and we're about to take on Bruno. Bruno in theory should be scary because he's a fighting type trainer, but he leads with Onix, and this is the revenge we have been waiting for. Brock's Onix caused us to lose so much time at the beginning of this run. So we use a Belly Drum, we use Rest, and then we're able to 2-shot it, and I think for an Onix that is not bad at all. After we knock it out, we move on to his scary fighting type Pokemon, but we one-shot the Hitmonchan, out comes the Hitmonlee, and we one-shot that as well. His 3rd fighting type is Machamp. Machamp says goodbye straight away, and his final Pokemon is another Onix. We use Shadow Ball against it to take it into the yellow as he uses a full restore. 2 Shadow Balls later and we are through Bruno on our very first attempt. For running a normal type Pokemon, I am incredibly happy with that. The next trainer up is Agatha. Agatha is a ghost type trainer who has a couple of poison types in there for good measure. So we equip yet another Chesto Berry and we're going to get to work belly drumming and shadow balling our way through all of her party. We use Belly Drum against the Gengar as it uses Double Team to increase its evasion. We hit on our first Shadow Ball and knock it out straight away though, and we're onto her Golbat. We Shadow Ball it into the afterlife and out comes Arbok. Arbok's Intimidate drops us down to +5 attack, but that is still more than enough to knock it out. Her second Gengar says hello and goodbye in the blink of an eye, and she finishes with a Haunter. Haunter is no match for Shadow Ball, we knock it out, we grow to level 59, and we have defeated Agatha in a time of 1:49.53. The final Elite Four member is Lance, the Liar with the Flyers. He leads with a Gyarados, which intimidates us straight off the bat, but Belly Drum more than negates that. We get sent to sleep via rest and then wake up with a Chesto Berry and he hits us for a critical hit Hyper Beam. That's enough to take us out of the battle, so we'll start over again. We use the exact same strategy as our first attempt. His Hyper Beam misses and we're able to knock it out in a single return. Aerodactyl's up next and it just about survives on 1 HP with return. That means it's able to hit us with Scary Face, and now the crux of our strategy has been thrown out of the window. We were relying on being much faster than all of these enemy Pokemon. The Dragonite outspeeds us as we knock it out in one shot. His Dragonair comes out, hits us with a critical hit Outrage, and we're back to square one. I do think we're onto a winning strategy here though, we've just got to get a little bit of extra luck. So we use the exact same moves against the Gyarados as he hits us with his Hyper Beam. We one-shot it with return though and knock it out, and we're back onto the Scarodactyl. This time he uses Wing Attack instead of Scary Face, and that was the in we needed. We're now going to outspeed all of the rest of his Pokemon, and we still have a huge attack stat. We one-shot his Dragonites, we do exactly the same against his first Dragonair, and his second Dragonair doesn't put up resistance either. We knock it out and we have defeated the Elite Four in a time of 1 hour, 51 minutes and 43 seconds. And that means there is only one battle left to go. It's Champion Triple Exclamation Mark who leads with Pidgeot, and that is really bad for our strategy because Pidgeot knows Feather Dance. We take an early reset and we try again. We lead with Belly Drum once more as he uses Aerial Ace instead of Feather Dance. We rest and wake up with our Lumberry as he uses Sand Attack, which means we're going to be throwing the dice for the rest of this battle. We knock out the Pidgeot though and we're on to the Alakazam. We hit through the Sand Attack to take that down in one shot, and here comes Rhydon. Rhydon's a two-shot and we miss a Shadow Ball, which means we get hit by Scary Face. This is feeling like a repeat of the Lance battle at this point as Gyarados reduces our attack even further. We knock it out in one shot though, and here comes Arcanine. Arcanine's Flamethrower deals a huge amount of damage to take us down to 5 HP. That goes up to 8 as Venusaur makes the biggest misplay of Triple Exclamation Mark's career by taking in Sunlight. That lets us one-shot it and we are the champions of the Kanto region. Professor Oak comes in to congratulate us and chastise his grandson, and he takes us into the Hall of Fame. And our final time is 1 hour, 53 minutes and 45 seconds. So we were quite a bit slower than Walrein on our first attempt with Linoone, but this Pokemon is definitely going to get a redo on stream sometime soon. But with that, we are done. So I'm going to say thank you all so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please do let me know if you're enjoying the Fire Red content. If you've enjoyed this video, please do leave it a like. If you've got anything at all to say, leave it in the comments down below. I have a Patreon at patreon.com/trainersquidgy, and if you've really enjoyed yourself, please do consider subscribing. It's been an absolute pleasure as always to spend the last half an hour with you, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon.